All of us harbor dark recesses of violence and horror. I'm just a man hiding in the corner with a camera, watching.
Mr. Hitchcock, you're the most famous director in the history of the medium, but you're 60 years old. Shouldn't you just quit while you're ahead?
This is murder. I'm getting blisters just watching you.
He's going out of his mind looking for his next project.
I need something fresh, something different.
Good evening. I can't tell if that's
Damn,
Hitchcock.
Dracula.
Oh, is this Dracula? I was about to say, I thought I can't tell if that's Hitchcock or Dracula. You know?
I think it was Blackula.
Yeah. You gotta put it more down in your neck. That
That wasn't it either.
That's when you eating.
You gotta sound like you're struggling for a breath and trying to release it at the same time.
Okay, you know what?
That's what you think, James.
No, that's the Elephant Man.
Let me hear yours again.
All right, here you go. Good evening.
No, you're right. That is the Elephant Man. I am not an animal.
This is a review we could have used Brian Salisbury on because he would have been able to do an Alfred Hitchcock impersonation.
Shit, Brian is going to be Hitchcock in 10 years. And I don't mean by making films either.
Damn. Wow.
I'm joking. Come on.
Guy's not even here.
I know, catching shrapnel.
Come on. We all get it here. I told you this. He's part of the crew now.
Especially when they're
Ice.
not actually in the room.
Oh, it helps.
You know
It's a lot
what?
easier to snap on you when you're not here.
Cyrus, I tell you what, he might not be in the room, but he's always in my heart. He's here.
So his foot's gonna be in your ass next time you see him.
I'd like to see him try. Now that was Hitchcock right there.
Oh, really?
No, it wasn't.
Is that Robin Hitchcock?
This is Hitchcock. Hey, Blondie, won't you bring them tits over here?
Okay, that's Hitchcock.
Yeah, that's straight up Hitchcock. Hitchcock was a player, boy, but that's
I don't know if he was a player,
yeah,
but he was a horny motherfucker.
let's just say he was on the field. I guess.
I didn't say that he wasn't playing with himself most of the time. I'm just saying, no, everybody knows Hitchcock.
He's looking through that rear window every day.
Oh, stop it.
Damn.
No, I mean literally. That's probably where that came from.
No, stop it. Just stop. No, Hitchcock, iconic director. Everybody who goes to film school wants to be
Alfred Hitchcock.
They want to be Quentin Tarantino. But back in the day, people wanted to be Hitchcock before Tarantino.
Well, once they get old enough, they go, man, what was that? Tarantino's not that great. Hitchcock's the best.
Hitchcock, that's a bad motherfucker. No,
In the 90s, they wanted to be Tarantino.
yeah, no.
Well, Brian De Palma certainly did.
What can you say about Hitchcock that hasn't been said already? I mean, everybody knows Hitchcock. Hitchcock was a pioneer in the areas of suspense and thrillers and just overall filmmaking, but he was also a great marketer too. The guy had a great sense of humor. He was a playful director, and everybody knows that he was the kind of director that put himself in a lot of his promos. He made a lot of appearances in his own movie. He came up with the term MacGuffin. I mean, I'm telling you a bunch of film school shit that a bunch of people already know.
Well,
don't know, look it up. Exactly. For you.
Well, in ways, I think of him as like one of the first kind of celebrity directors out there, you know, that really put himself out there. So you knew, like, when Alfred Hitchcock came out with a movie, you were going to be there.
You know what? You're right. I mean, there was some people before who their names meant spectacle. I mean, Cecil B. DeMille. Yeah. But he was but a lot of people they knew the name. Hitchcock was as much of a celebrity in name and in physical appearance as much as his actors were.
Well, they learned how to market Hitchcock himself. I mean, he was a brand. He had his own television series, Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Well, other directors with their own TV series on the side.
Rod Serling.
He wasn't a movie director.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah, listen,
come on, man. Pay attention.
He's like, I'm sorry, Cyrus, but there were other people on TV.
Hey, I didn't get to read that part on Wikipedia.
You know what? Let me look this up real quick. Hey, I never said I passed film school. I got an F, and it wasn't for film.
Managed
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, managed to pass up the article, but yeah.
Yeah, no, but my point is, you wonder how come there wasn't a movie about Hitchcock long time ago.
Yeah, no shit.
And now we got two of them. We have The Girl that's on HBO, and we have this one that's self-titled Hitchcock. And when you hear Hitchcock in the name here, in the title, you're expecting to see something like Lincoln. Maybe you're thinking this is going to be the life of Hitchcock. You're going to see what is it that in Hitchcock's life, maybe as a boy growing up to be the great director,
the whole story.
What were the influences?
Well, especially when you've hired the lead to be, a great actor like Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, well, it's also much like Lincoln, where you only get a section of his life. In Lincoln, I don't want to keep comparing this to Lincoln, but in Lincoln you had You had him with the Emancipation Proclamation and what was it, Chapter 13, whatever that shit is.
18th Amendment.
No, the 13th Amendment.
51.
Yeah. I'm just being silly. But here, this is not, don't let the name Hitchcock fool you. And I don't think anybody really is, but I don't think anybody's really.
Yeah, same here.
I don't think. Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was. I mean, well, when you look at the trailer, it looks like you're going to watch a movie that is about the making of Psycho. I mean, throughout the entire trailer, it's just Hitchcock, performing with everyone who is involved with Psycho. So you think, oh, it's going to be a biopic around that whole time when he was making that movie, and it's not that really.
Did you not think it was? Because I did think it's during. It is about the period that he was making Psycho, and it's mostly about how you have this director that has become world known, has a tremendous library of movies under his belt, so much experience, and he has trouble making this film, that one that he really wants to make, the one that he says, I want to do my version of a horror film.
Yeah.
Except I want to do it good.
Well,
Hey, I'm Hitchcock, goddamn.
Because at that point, horror wasn't something that big name directors did. You just didn't go make a horror movie, not a real horror movie, like maybe a bit of a thriller. But Psycho was flat out and out horror. This is a scene where the producer is looking at it, it's like, okay, this has incest and murder, and I mean, just this huge list of things you just don't show.
Yeah, he read the books.
in a Hollywood film.
Yeah, and Hitchcock's going like, yeah.
Well,
that's what it's all about.
Like what, they figure just like we start out, everybody knows who Hitchcock is. Well, yeah. So it's like, we don't need to tell the story about the rise of Hitchcock. They chose one interesting part of his life, a turning point in his life, which was this, where he kind of hit a low point where it was like, well, fuck, nobody, his own studio should, if anybody should trust him, isn't even trusting him to make the movie he just wants.
And you're right, they didn't
make.
do that because it was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Which would be much more interesting if this movie was really about that and not about his wife.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It is a movie about the relationship he had while making this movie with his wife. That is the gist of it.
I think it's probably half and half because his wife, who's played by
Helen Mirren.
Your girlfriend.
Your girlfriend who you constantly forget.
Yeah, I know. No. I should. His wife was Alfie. What is her name? Fucking Alma Reville or some shit like that.
Yeah, he was Alfie.
Yeah,
He was Alfie.
Couldn't she be Alma Hitchcock? Goddamn it.
No, Alma Reville is his wife's name, and it's that whole thing. There's a saying for everyone that praises a man, there's a woman behind.
There's a strong woman behind him.
Very great man.
Great man. There's a strong woman.
There's a strong woman behind him telling him that he's wrong. And that's kind of what his wife is like here. So it's a story about how this wife was crucial in his career, and I think the two are connected because she was also very crucial in helping him get Hitchcock made. Because the thing I find interesting about this is that he was inspired by the book Psycho.
By Robert Bloch.
Yeah, but who was that is the story of Ed Gaines. I mean, a guy
Ed Gein,
it's really
loosely based on the story of Ed Gein.
As is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all
a couple other
Silence of the Lambs,
bunch of other stuff. Right. Yeah, this guy's the rock star of serial killers. He's got trading cards.
He was interesting enough that Alfred Hitchcock, that was one of the points of the story.
But we're at a point
he found fascinating.
Yeah. We're at a point where nobody's doing what he's done. I mean, as you said, this is a story with incestuous tendencies,
transvestitism, man.
And
all sorts of shit.
Wearing of skins.
And it's very graphic too, in a way. I mean, I'm sure the way the script read, it was very graphic. Basically, it had everything at the time that would make someone say, "Fuck, no, we're not doing
very
this."
taboo.
And he said, "Well, you know what? This is what I found interesting about this. I will say, as much as I love Hitchcock, I don't know a whole lot about his life. I spent too much time watching his movies."
Well, he's made a shitload of movies. I mean, the guy's been I mean, I don't even know what the total count of movies.
A lot.
Including the TV.
Well, he
series
made so many movies.
Yeah.
He was a big director in Britain before he actually got to America.
Yeah, and he was already a star when he came here.
Yeah, so his name was known before he even came here, and came here and became even a bigger superstar. But when you try to take on something new here, people say, no, we don't want you to do that. So what did he do? We hear about today how directors just say, I'm going to finance this myself. Or we think this is so bold now that people do this. No, Hitchcock actually had to finance his own movie.
Yeah.
He was fighting the studios that he'd been making money for. It's like, well, nobody's going to go see this. And the cool thing about the movie is that it does get into some of the aspects, especially the promotion that he had to do to get people in the theater to see Psycho, where, he made that it's its own thing where you can go to YouTube and actually find there's like a little mini documentary about how he tricked people into seeing like Psycho, how he made it like a special experience where he actually had people wait at the door and go, if you show up late, you're not getting in, and that made people intrigued to go see it.
And now they run the Alamo Draft House.
Yes, exactly.
I like this, man. I do like it, and I find it interesting. I learned some things from it. And as much as I really want to praise the film, in a way, I thought that I mentioned how Hitchcock is a playful director, and they actually used that sort of aspect of his personality as an approach to set the tone for the movie. I thought it was very clever the way it started out. As you mentioned, Anthony Hopkins is playing Hitchcock, and when the movie starts out with him, actually starts out with Ed Gaines committing Ed Gein committing a murder,
singular.
And then Hitchcock comes into the scene and does his usual "oh my, what's going on here," sipping tea and all that, and he's setting the tone for his own film. And I think that this playful approach that they have here it makes the movie lighter than I feel it needs to be.
For me, for all the good things in this movie, it was kind of a letdown. Just from what I saw from the trailer, Anthony Hopkins playing Hitchcock, this ought to be great. And that playful tone it starts out with, it's a great way to start a movie.
Yeah.
But at some point I was like, okay, is it ever going to lose that playful tone? Because this is like Anthony Hopkins, his portrayal of Hitchcock, after a while, it sort of became more of a parody than anything else. It was just
he's not playing. Honestly, he's not really playing Hitchcock.
Yeah.
He loses the character.
He really does, which is surprising for him. I mean, all the places the story goes, it's like, wow, man, I feel like there's a much better, darker, deeper story here. And you guys are kind of playing it for laughs, and I guess that's fine, but I don't know.
Hopkins is playing Hitchcock as a lovable buffoon almost at points. Whereas while it keeps asserting, no, he's a great filmmaker and everyone really respects him, like he does everything but trip over couches in other ways with just being just kind of like completely oblivious to how people perceive him sometimes. And like anybody who's spent any time looking up Hitchcock's actual life, like in more of a Hollywood Babylon sort of sense, knows that shit with the way he was treating his actresses, nobody thought it was cute or funny.
Right.
He was downright abusive about it. And here it's like, oh, the doddering old guy. Come on, he's a little dirty.
Yeah.
It's
like Benny Hill.
Okay, and it doesn't have to necessarily be realistic, but the problem is that uses that as a fulcrum to sneak in this mildly Hitchcock-like premise that he thinks his wife is cheating on him because she thinks that he spends too much time with these girls, and there are all these moments in there like, oh look, it's like a Hitchcock movie within a Hitchcock movie, except it's not, and it doesn't come to anything, and it's not really interesting.
And I hate that they waste there's Ed Gein actually is a part of this movie where he's playing I was trying to figure out, is he playing Alfred Hitchcock's Jiminy Cricket? Is that
right?
Is Ed Gein kind of going through the motions?
Well, I thought that was clever.
I thought it was a clever idea. But I thought the idea itself didn't go anywhere. It didn't make any. Trying to understand what really this association he had with Ed Gein. Sure, I can understand it on a surface level, but it seemed like the movie was trying to play it a lot deeper than it actually was.
Yeah, because it was troubling him, these dreams of Gein where he was waking up in a sweat, and the way it all plays out and you would think lead you to believe that we're going to discuss Hitchcock's actual problems with women. I mean, it leads you to believe that his problem with women stems with his relationship with his mother, who is never brought up at all, except for that one dream sequence.
I think it could work if you look at it in an aspect of he's supposed to be some manifestation of his obsession with making this movie and the obsession with his wife, this notion that she might be cheating on him. But I agree with you. I don't think it's a device that works all the time because he's also there to help Hitchcock solve a mystery. The mystery of whether his wife is cheating or not. Yeah. I don't think they handled that very well.
It's very ham-handed.
This felt more like an HBO movie than an actual movie.
It did.
Yeah.
But
now, it's funny you say that because HBO made a movie about Hitchcock with Toby Jones, and that got down into the real dark shit.
Even though I think that movie kind of has its own problems too, because with both
it's not
of these
perfect.
With both of these movies. I thought that they were only just kind of scratching on the surface the whole way through, where it didn't want to take the risk of really getting involved with what they were trying to do is just making a Hitchcock movie about his life. I thought they kind of failed with that, especially bringing in the whole aspect of the relationship with his wife, which, sure, I found it to be interesting, but that's not how the movie was sold to me. The movie seemed like it was sold to me dealing with Hitchcock and his whole process of making Psycho.
They toy with it.
And they even bring in actresses. They bring in Scarlett Johansson, who is playing Janet Leigh.
She's a perfect Janet Leigh.
She does a knock-up Janet.
Yeah, where I thought she was great, but at the same time, it seems like when the movie was over, I felt like, man, she was hardly in it. They bring her in such a grandiose way, yet they do nothing. I was like, wow, did they even try to attempt to have a stronger story plot going on between her and Hitchcock, which I think would have been interesting, especially watching the HBO Hitchcock movie, The Girl. Yeah, seeing if they probably brought that into this movie, it would have been that more interesting. But
Janet Leigh seemed to be just there to show him treating a woman with respect, because he treats no other woman in the film with any real respect, including Jessica Biel's character, who plays another actress he works with, who apparently he once wanted her to be his next big star,
right?
But she chose to be a housewife instead for a while.
You haven't spoken to him much about your personal life, have you? Hitch? Mm-hmm. No, not really. I would keep it that way if I were you. Why? Well, it starts with him wanting to choose your hairstyle. Then he wants to choose your clothes and your friends and how many children you should have. You know that poor, tortured soul Jimmy Stewart played in Vertigo? Hmm? That's Hitch. Only younger, slimmer, and better looking. Well, I don't know. Compared to Orson Welles, he's a sweetheart.
And so he's basically pouting at her and treating her like shit because he resents her.
Well, that's
decision.
the strongest part of the movie, when they bring in some of the actresses that worked with Hitchcock, especially on this movie, like the people we just mentioned, Janet Leigh and Vera Miles, James Darcy as Anthony Perkins.
Anthony Perkins.
Yeah,
Anthony Perkins.
I like the way you usually want to correct me.
No. I was going.
Anthony Hopkins. Perkins, yeah, motherfucker.
Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins, who I thought the guy who was playing him was great, except he's he makes a cameo.
Well, that's the thing. James Darcy is the guy that plays him. All these, they did a great bit of casting. Maybe not with Anthony Hopkins so much as Hitchcock, because it's just Anthony Hopkins in a fat suit.
Yeah.
But everybody else, even Toni Collette as his assistant, Peggy Robertson, was. You put these people in costumes and you think they look the role. That's cool, but Jessica Biel and Scarlett Johansson, I haven't seen them be this good in a while. I mean, they're good, but really here, now you have to you understand. I'm just looking at Scarlett Johansson coming out the Avengers, where she's just doing flips and shit. I just got through watching Jessica Biel in a shitty movie where they gave her nothing to do. And I look at this, and that's when I think, God damn, women really don't have shit to do in Hollywood.
No, they don't. They don't.
And you put them in a role like this, and they're great.
They even brought the fucking Karate Kid into the movie. Ralph Macchio played the writer of the book Psycho.
No, he was the writer of the screenplay.
Screenplay, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought he was the writer of the book.
Joe Stefano wrote the screenplay.
Oh, okay. Well, even his brief cameo that he had, his character that he was playing was so screwed up. You wanted to see more of him. You wanted to see kind of like the relationship that Hitchcock had with him, because I mean he did have
Macchio
a pretty
needs a second chance.
Yeah, he really does though. But I mean, the thing is, everything that you can look up on Wikipedia is far more interesting than what they kind of brought to this movie.
That happens too often with these kind of biopics, where when it tries to cover too much, or it's spread too thin, where you're like, just reading about it, I got everything I needed. But what you guys said, all this great casting for all these small parts that are just too small. And what they choose to focus on, it's kind of like, well, all right, him and his wife and their follies, they're
having
nice
problems, but what's the big deal?
Yeah.
I mean, why is this important?
And it's hard to tell a story about how he struggled with this movie that you already know is a huge success.
Helen Mirren, who is as classy here as she always is and beautiful, and yet she's just kind of dances around the fringe of this movie, even though ostensibly the movie's kind of really about her.
Right.
It's just like, okay, so ultimately it's the woman behind the man, but then it's just kind of a bland part for her to actually play. Even when it comes to the comeuppance moment where finally Hitchcock is going to get told off, it's just not really written all that well.
Yeah.
I mean, and if there's a big problem with that film, it's just this film is just that. It's just not written all that well. There's a lot of talent here. It's a cute idea, but I never think it ever really transcends being a cute movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed the part where he tried to, where he was trying to get his movie made. I mean, we know it's a success, but that's nothing new. We've seen several stories where we want to know how it reached that success.
It's a fun process.
I don't think.
I
don't think that's a bad thing. It's just something not everybody knew. Everybody knows Psycho is a successful movie. I don't think hardly anybody knows the struggle that Hitchcock had to do with it. That's a strong part of the film. I don't know if they should have just focused more on that, or if they maybe should have focused more on some other things, debunking myths about Hitchcock, because the stories about Hitchcock being cruel to his starlets and whatnot. He had an obsession with blondes, but things like him being really abusive to Tippi Hedren and shit like that all that's kind of a myth. He was never really on the Birds. He was never really that cruel to her that some people say.
Maybe according to some,
he might. According to some. I mean, but
according to others, he was. So
she's been quoted as saying herself, "I had a great time working on it. He gave me a big break." His wife was, I think his wife was actually the one that cast her, chose her, and then brought her in. And Hitchcock said, "Yeah, that's cool." And so maybe there should have been a story about his wife more than anything, because you're right. The thing is, they make it too cute. It's a cute movie. I mean, they got Hitchcock, that fat fuck sneaking up on people. I mean, that's one of the things I didn't like. Because in the movie they do things that irritated me. Like
he's the director.
Like Hitchcock. Sometimes it got a little too cute. Like he would just sneak up on people.
It was precious.
Yeah,
Precious, yeah.
You're right.
Oh, Hitch.
There'll be
lovable
moments-
Hitch.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be moment people be sitting there, and then you turn around, Hitchcock just standing behind you. And I was like, you would hear that big motherfucker coming
You
up.
would hear the guy with the tuba follow him go.
In this movie,
I figure you see the first thing you see is like when you know Batman's in the room, but you don't see him. The same thing goes for Hitchcock. That's a big motherfucker.
Or like on
you
his
see
show,
that silhouette.
You would always see that shadow
that
coming
stomach.
up.
Well, you see that stomach before you see him.
That shadow would say good evening before he
Yeah.
In this movie, don't ever get up and leave your plate, because you turn back around, that mother sneak up and eat your shit.
But you know what? That's the ultimate. That is the ultimate problem that I have with both. I mean, I know we're not reviewing The Girl, but I like to bring that up because with where this movie plays too much with the playful aspect of Hitchcock, The Girl brings up like the dark, scary Hitchcock,
but too much.
And yeah, where both of these aspects of what the directors are trying to get across seem almost like, it doesn't make any sense to me, because I can't buy that this guy was a crazy, insane, evil guy to his girls, to his cast, because you watch how he sells his movies. He's very playful with it. He loves his craft. He loves what he does, and it almost seems like he's too busy to be like in the corner going, I can't wait to get that bitch in my movie so I can kill her.
Man, pedophiles and sex maniacs get away all the time because people look at him that way.
Well,
they're like, in public he was always smiling.
Well, it's just two dynamics that I wish somebody could have met in the middle.
I would agree with you on that.
Let me ask you something, Coles. How many fat guys pulled you into that van?
Too many.
Good evening, little robot.
Yeah. You should have seen that van packed with all those fat guys. That was not fun.
I'd like to show you something. Come in.
Good evening.
You know what I want to say about Anthony Hopkins' makeup? No, I think I would have bought it more if they should have gave him a prosthetic bottom lip.
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock was known for that bottom lip. Boy, that bottom lip was almost as fat as he was.
It's like he had to spend the entire movie with his head tilted back to give the impression of that weird neck that he had.
Some that gout that he had or whatever.
And you're like, but you couldn't help but notice it. His whole film, his head's tilted way back. And you're like, no, dude, you don't look like Hitchcock. You look like a comedian doing an impression.
Take a look at old pictures of Alfred Hitchcock, and you're going to see it just really, that's the only thing was missing.
Yeah.
That lip is big.
Big pouty lip.
Yeah,
He kept sticking his lip out. He was trying to do it.
He was trying to, but no, they needed to do some Eddie Murphy CG effects on there.
It's unfortunate because knowing that The Girl is out, when you watch The Girl, you can see that Toby Jones, whoever worked on that makeup fucking nailed it. He had the voice and everything in that movie. And with this, I'm like, wow, Anthony Hopkins, are you even trying to, be Hitchcock
Even
at
the
all?
voice didn't really sound that much
not
like
at all.
It sounded like a parody, like an impression.
Yeah,
You know what it reminded me of? If if
you did his voice,
no,
or any of us.
Yeah, any of us.
it reminded me if Hannibal Lecter had an eating problem and just got obese.
Too many livers and fava beans.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear that.
Ate too many people.
He just might as well just like the whole way through the movie.
He's like, shit, I'm too good at this.
Yeah. Motherfucker, he just can't kill people because he just can't get up and reach them and shit. I'll get you later.
But I mean, that part, the thing is, you want to be sold that this is Hitchcock, and sometimes that took me out of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, man, it's a decent film. I saw it at home.
It's
You got the
okay.
screener for it.
You said it right when you said it was like an HBO film. When you watch an HBO movie and you're like, you know what, that was cute. I'm glad I saw it. I had a little fun with it, but you can see why it didn't get chosen to go into the theater.
Yeah, well,
and this is when you go, are you sure you didn't want to just
Because they got Anthony Hopkins and
Helen Mirren.
my girlfriend in there. So I mean, it's sort of it's a dark story that they I feel like they said, man, we have a really cool approach to doing this. We're just going to take that tone of Alfred Hitchcock, who was coming in and he was selling his films and being playful with them. That made this movie kind of too light for a darker story, I think. I mean, Alfred Hitchcock, the way they put him across in this movie, they put him across as sort of a fucked up guy, but they still just you know what? It would have been cool had this been called That's My Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm just like
Hitchcock?
You've been Hitchcock. They should have when he was punking his actresses.
Well, he pretty much was.
Yeah.
That's not my finger.
Alfred Hitchcock. But yeah, this is too light for the heavy story they're trying to tell you. It ain't nothing light about that motherfucker Hitchcock at all. So I'm just saying,
wow, boy.
Because of that tone, it missed some depth. And I think it's an enjoyable film, but I wouldn't give it anything past a matinee.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've been saying the same things, and they're all true. But I did prefer The Girl in that it dealt with things that were darker. And I keep bringing it up because when you get to the end of Hitchcock, you know, it's all the story of Psycho. And it goes like, and after this, he made The Birds. If you watch The Girl right after it, it's like it picks up right afterwards. And Hitchcock is almost like The Girl got made first, and they were like, ooh, we don't want just that dark image of him going out there. We gotta program a film to be the exact counter of that and get ours out so more people will like Hitchcock better than
We got to sell that DVD box set we're about to put out.
Well, yeah, but it's almost like they tried to like make people go like, oh, don't listen to that. Listen to us over here. We're telling like the real story of Hitchcock,
Yeah,
right?
we're
guys?
fans.
He was a good dude. He was just playing.
Oh yeah, he got to play shit.
Oh man,
It's all right.
he liked blonde girls. You know, he liked to tickle them a little bit and grab their asses. But he's just like your uncle. You don't even worry about
He's
it.
like a perverted uncle.
I mean, you really have to read the subtext of what's going on real hard. But like I said, it's nice to see them show what happened with Psycho, but I don't think they sold it in a way that would make it interesting to somebody who wasn't already interested in it. You just
Not
kind of
at
go
all.
like, whatever. I mean, a story about a guy with a sexual obsession, anybody can watch that and get into it. This was like, okay, it's man, when you call it Good Evening, the sitcom, it just felt too much like that. And for all the good things that were in it, it was a letdown. So yeah, for me, it honestly, it was a matinee until I saw The Girl, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of more of like a low matinee.
You know, it's a lot of things you guys have said. I felt like are like hit the nail on the head. You even making fun of it like a sitcom, but it is like a funny sitcom. I mean, there's lots of stuff in here.
Yeah, I laughed.
I genuinely laughed, had a good time with it. But ultimately, it was the problem of the decision with this man in particular to just take a little piece of his life to tell his story and be emblematic of him as a total, as a person, because he went through a lot of different stages in his life. He had a very interesting life creatively. I mean, he was always looking for the next challenge, which is why he took on a film like Psycho and then The Birds after it. Wanted to try stuff that hadn't been tried before. And I felt like the big mistake was not having the balls to just flat out say, you know what, we're going to make this a biopic. The psycho part's an important part, but it really is only one part of a story of a man who kept changing throughout his life in a lot of ways. I felt it was a missed opportunity we probably won't get a chance to now for a while see really explored. But like I said, this is what we got. And on that note, and as a gigantic Alfred Hitchcock fan, I couldn't help but be disappointed. There's so much I know about him that was just wildly misrepresented by this movie. And there was other stuff that was just, like I said, the worst part for me was them trying to shoehorn in the mini Hitchcock movie in a way in the middle of a Hitchcock film that just didn't work at all. Didn't fit. Ultimately, it's just like, it kind of goes, yeah, forget we did that. Never mind. It's sort of like, yeah, never mind. Forget that. We're just going to go back to the regular story without all that bullshit. Danny Houston, who's in here, who always plays a fucking like a scumbag. You're supposed to actually like him for a while.
Yeah, but it's Danny Houston.
I'm like, that's Danny Houston. You can't fool me.
He's Whitfield Cook, the guy who wants to have Hitchcock's wife as a writing partner for something that he wants to do.
Yeah, especially just having watched him on Magic City, where he's like the most evil gangster of all time.
Yeah,
but he's always plays the scummy roles. I'm like, come on, man, that's just a little bit like, that's telegraphing your story by casting, and that's probably not a good idea. But ultimately, I still had fun with this. I know the old hat for everybody to hear this, but yes, I really liked Scarlett Johansson in this a lot. I thought she just was dead on Janet Leigh role in here. She really nailed it. God, a lot of it. Knocked Up, nailed it with Scarlett.
Go on, man, just say it.
So I'll give it a better than sex. No, I give this as well matinee. I think it's a cute movie, but it's far from essential, and I hope someday they make a better Hitchcock film.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. It's like you guys have said it all, and what more can I add to this besides the fact that unfortunately it's not the Hitchcock movie that I was dying to see, because I love when they can bring so much to a character like Hitchcock and represent like all the cool things we've always heard about him, like even things that are rumored about him, where they could have brought that into the foreground and they didn't. Like they were just playing it safe, and I hate that, especially when I love movies like God and Monsters,
sure,
and Ed Wood. Where to me those are great biopics of directors that they showed every aspect about what made them great, their weaknesses, and what makes them the legends that they are. This not so much. I mean, it made me just go, man. I felt like I didn't learn anything from this movie. It just kind of came and went, and because of that, I really did like it. But there's a part of me that just is dying to give it a rental. Because now, I just us talking about it, I really feel like if I saw it again, I probably wouldn't like it as much. Sure, it was funny, it was great, but there was no point in this movie that was making. Well, my first impression was like, it's good, but there's something really bothering me about this movie, and I couldn't pinpoint it.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, it's because they just scratched the surface. They did an attempt to get into the mind of this guy, what he was about, even though they were trying to present everything around him as far as like surfacing his crazy world in his head, like bringing that to the surface, and it didn't work, So for me, it is the rental, and I hate saying that because I was dying to see this movie. And
I ain't mad at you.
I just didn't care.
Yeah. And the thing is that the movie is so short.
It really is.
I mean, that's one of the things.
Short.
Yeah, that's one of the things that undercuts it.
It's like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's like they just didn't even want to put that much in it.
Yeah. And I keep thinking maybe it's because it's from the director, the guy who did Anvil.
Yeah, Sasha Gervais.
Yeah. He directed
Gervasi, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's the guy who directed the Anvil documentary, and I don't know if this is like his second movie or what.
This is his second movie.
Is it?
But he's been a screenwriter for a few movies.
Really?
His first in the system.
film. I think it's competent.
Yeah, he wrote The Terminal and some other stuff. So he's not inexperienced with film at all. But but this is his first movie. And it must be mentioned that Anvil, the story of Anvil.
I know.
That's a documentary of an old metal band. So this
Mockumentary.
Is it a mockumentary?
I thought it's
No. It's a real band. And the funny thing about that is that he touched on aspects in that Anvil documentary, like he got inside. You couldn't help but get inside what those guys were feeling in that documentary, and it's like, man, I felt like there was heart missing in this Alfred Hitchcock.
But he couldn't do a documentary about Alfred Hitchcock unless he dug him up.
Yeah, I know. Unless he dug him up.
They would be okay.
Yeah.
Hitchcock.
But he should know. He should know like what is appealing to audiences, like what they really want to know about somebody they admire.
I don't think it's unappealing. It's just not strong.
Yeah. I mean, it's very well produced. It's just it just makes me wonder if he had the estate of Alfred Hitchcock on his shoulder.
Yeah,
Like they
watching
saw the
over
girl,
his-
and then like you said, co-host, they saw that when like, no, that's not what we're doing. This okay, we approve this, take that out, and by the end, you got a movie that's barely over 90 minutes.
Walking out of this, getting off my couch. I mean, because I didn't see that, but getting up and finish watching it, I had nothing against it. It's just, I thought for such an unforgettable director, this is a fucking forgettable movie right here.
You know, say what you will, though, it may have changed the language of film itself in some ways, because now if we say, "Oh, that was so Hitchcockian," people might say, "Oh, you mean like that Anthony Hopkins movie?"
They will not say that because they won't remember.
Yeah, they won't even see it.
To offer a suggestion here, I have not seen The Girl.
Sure.
But I keep hearing you guys talk about how, man, that movie is so dark. But this movie is so light and fun and fluffy, and I'm thinking if you look at those two together,
there was some way to meld them.
Yeah, well, you
Needs
could
to be
actually
a fan edit.
you could actually have Hitchcock be like the good movie, and then the girl would be the one where Hitchcock turns into Darth Vader in a way. You know, that's when he starts raping girls and shit. That's when he rolls over on girls and they can't move, and you see legs underneath them moving.
Raping girls. Yeah, I want to see Alfred Hitchcock run after a girl.
Exactly.
That'd be a short movie right there.
He's dead.
How does it end?
I promised Mother I wouldn't tell.
Oh, you imp, you've got nudity in there.
Well, her breasts were rather large. It was a challenge not to show them.